Hey everyone, if you didn't see my vlog a couple of days ago, I've got a limited t-shirt, a plush, and a signed card, all for sale on my store for $20. The deal ends on the 6th of May and the link's down below. Please take a look if you want to support my channel even further. Let's get straight into the video. Hello, my name is Grian and today I'm going to be showing you a bunch of garden tricks and tips and designs and all other things nice. So let's get straight into it, shall we? The first one is a personal favourite of mine. It's basically where instead of just having grass blocks placed on top of each other like so, where you just spam them around and then have another layer on the top as well, basically what you do is lay a cobblestone in front of each dirt bit and it just creates a really nice terrace layer, as you can see here. By using a mixture of staircases and slabs and just normal cobblestone, you can create a really nice man-made terrace. And by making these little paths in between, you can create an awesome looking garden. You can have anything in between, bit of long grass, reeds, ponds, flowers, or you could do this where you add lots and lots of crops into it, so it works both as a farm and as a garden tool. It's a pretty versatile landscaping technique that you could use in multiple situations with different blocks as well. I'll leave it up to your imaginations to work it out. Next up, we've got a mix mash of ideas going on here, so let me take you through them. The first one is a custom tree. Everyone knows roughly how to make one of these, but you could add custom heads on them to make them have some fruit on. Gives a little bit of colour. And you can have a swing dangling down with iron bars which are really thin, and underneath they've got path blocks to make it look like they've dragged their feet. And on the left hand side there's a similar one but with a fence instead of an iron one. It's just a little bit thicker, but it does exactly the same job. There's a couple of more designs to show you for this one, including this flower pot. It's a lot of trapdoors and a couple of fences, but it uses the iron and the wooden quite nicely with a mixture of flowers on top of grass. If you lined them up nicely, it would work really well. On these little bushes, I just added lots of grapes. It's just a nice way of giving colour to vegetation. Next up is an idea more than a specific design, and it's in your garden, creating a pond with a little water feature that you can walk around. Terraining and landscaping like this really adds something to a flat garden. So any ideas such as putting flowers, little rocks, buttons, that kind of thing, they all help create a nice atmosphere. And this was just one of those designs. So let's move on, shall we, to the next one. This is more appropriate for a garden park sort of thing, like a public place. So using leaves, you can make little bushes, just place them down in a nice pattern so it seems like they're really preened and pruned. And you can make little trees from a fence and a couple of those leaf blocks, and you can make some really cool benches as well with a bit of snow, and you can make these iron trap doors go in an upright position. If you just go underneath and add a lever and switch it on, then you can control, and it's hidden at the same time. So you just keep them on at all times so that they're completely upright, but you can't see the levers at all once you've put the blocks back. So yeah, those benches work really nicely. But in the center, we've got a bird bath. It's a hopper with an anvil and a cauldron with some water in the top. It works really nicely, especially in a public park, for example. So that's a nice design, and it all works really well together, which is why it's all in the same one. Let's move on, shall we? This is, again, would work in a public park, but it also would work in a garden as well. So it's like a walkthrough, a wooden structure that has loads of plants growing over it, loads of creeping plants. Of course, what they really are a bunch of leaf blocks with some custom heads on it to add some colour. But the wooden structure is made up of fences, a cobblestone wall at the bottom, and some fence gates, and it works really nicely. All of those little holes make a big difference. And the only other thing that's different about this one is having some custom, slightly larger trees than the ones we saw over there, using fence and a different shade of leaf. Using different shades of leaf is a really good idea. Next up is a summer house. So it's like a gazebo, but a permanent structure that you could put at the end of your garden, especially if you've got a long, thin one. And you could make a path that has loads of details in it with buttons and pressure plates. It really makes it seem like a more detailed type of gravel. But on this hut itself, you could have hanging baskets, and you could indeed put these anywhere. So we usually include an overhang on our builds, but using trapdoors and some iron fence, now that they're so thin, it works really, really nicely. And another tip is on the front here, we've got this big glass face, but we actually put one of them at a right angle. In the middle, you put an iron fence and it looks like a handle, and it looks like the door's actually been opened. So there's just those little tiny details that you can put on builds like this that make a huge difference. And up here, it's really key to make sure that there's an airspace that wraps all the way round to really make it feel like a summer home, nice and airy, nice and ventilated. I really like this design. It had a lot of tricks and tips in here for general use of garden stuff. So next up, of course, we have to include a modern design. So one of the big things here is that you can use stained clay to make it look like someone has mowed their garden in a pattern, you know, much like football pitches do, so you have an alternating shade of green. So that's one cool trick to make it simulate grass. Of course, it will not be the actual block. We've got loads of iron trapdoors and some snow as like little walking stones to a little patio area, which has a lovely open fire. So it's important, if you're going to do designs like this, nice brutalist fashion, meaning that it has a lot of squares in it, and we use the same design for the seating area and a really cool open fire. It's so simple, it's just a line of blocks in a circle. We've also got this cool little trick for tiny plants. A cactus in a pot with a leaf on top makes a little mini tree. At the back, we've just got a load of leaves with some grass on top. Now, the grass is world edited on, so if you don't have world edit, I'm so sorry. And the same with this tree. You can make custom trees with fences and leaves, but you'd have to world edit these grass on top to make it work. But if you do have it, and you can do that, it does make a big difference. So let's move on to the next one. Now, there's a little bit of a personal competition going on between me and Pearlescent Moon, who's in the crew. One of us has made this Zen Garden. It's got a load of little wiggles in it, and it's got some cool rocks with some buttons on the floor. It's meant to be a Zen Garden, and Zen is like, you rake the grass. I don't really know how it works. You rake the gravel or the sand or whatever it is, and it's meant to make cool patterns, and it's meant to be very, very relaxing. I must admit, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but take a look at this one, and we'll go over to the one on the right here, which one of us has also made. I'm not going to tell you whose is who. So we'll call the first one 1, and we'll call this one 2. So this Zen Garden has more of a pathway. It's got little stepping stones, bunch of sand, rocks, and it's also got some like cherry blossom trees as well, with pink wool and some stained clay, and some leaves like floating around as glass panes. It's got a little pond. So what I want to know is, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer number 1 or number 2? Both of them have these like little rakes in them, and both of them are intended to be like Zen gardens. So I want to know which one you prefer. This is number 2, that one's number 1. Which one do you prefer out of these as a Zen garden? And if you don't know what they are, perhaps look them up and see which one sort of closely resembles it. Let's move on, shall we, to the next one, and I'll probably tell who in the next video who won that. This is a normal suburban garden. We've got a really nice brick wall. I don't usually like using the brick block because it's really intensely red. And we've got this great walk-through gate. It's made entirely out of trapdoors, and if you place them in the right position, you can get a perfect rectangle. If you have world edit, you can force vines onto the side, and it makes it look like creeping plants, which is a really, really nice additive to that build. On the side here, we've just got a bunch of podzol and coarse dirt mixed in with a whole bunch of leaves and plants and flowers to create a flower bed. It's just a really simple way of decorating your garden. And there's obviously multiple ways to do it. So we got this nice little area with a custom tree which uses dark oak planks instead of logs, which is a really neat way of doing it. So it's got a little tree, it's got a nice pathway, it's got a bit of water, and it's just a really nice design, and you'd expect to see that in a suburban area perhaps. Next up is a proper gazebo. You would definitely expect to see this in a public area or a park or something like that. It's really, really well made. Or if you had a stately manor or some sort of build along those lines, you might see something like this. So we've got a big pattern with loads of water, and it's really intended to be some heavy landscaping as well as a bit of structure as well. This wooden gazebo looks kind of complicated on the front of it, and it's got a table in the center here. So let's take a little closer look. We've got a bunch of staircases placed on top of each other and some slabs in between, and we've got a really nice shape that wraps around, and in the center there's a little bubble that goes above. It's a really cool structure, and I'm a big fan of this one. It looks excellent. I love the details, I love the color choice as well, but of course it is entirely flexible, as most of these designs are, intended to inspire rather than get you to copy them block for block. The last design of this video is a greenhouse. Now, a garden sometimes, and especially in colder countries, have greenhouses so that you're able to grow some crops out of season, or in places with a milder climate. So the idea is to keep the framing as minimal as possible, and we've used quartz here to match what we have in the UK at least, and you keep as much glass in between as possible. And we actually used a mixture here with some stained white and normal glass as well, and the effect is quite pleasant. So we've got a lot of detail going on with some staircases and some slabs, but overall it's mainly glass. On the inside it looks fantastic. I love the way this feels. It's really pristine. It's got a lot of iron trap doors which work. Now up above, these are well edited in because we couldn't put a lever on to keep them there, but you could just use wooden ones in that situation. Then you put loads of grass, loads of plants and leaves in there, and that looks fantastic. Even if it's not practical, it looks excellent. And you could grow crops there, it's just not a particularly efficient way of doing it, so like I said, this is mainly for looks rather than practicality, but to be fair, most of the designs that are done on these videos are for looks and not practicality. So let's have a look back through them and see what you think. We got the gazebo made out of jungle wood and all that kind of stuff. And then we got the Suburban Garden with that excellent gate and flower beds with a custom tree. We've got Zen Garden 2, which looks pretty cool. And we got Zen Garden 1, which also looks pretty cool. And don't forget to leave a comment down below saying which one you prefer. We got the Modern Garden, which is a particular favorite of mine. We've got the Summer House with its little tricks and tips. And we've got this nice walkway, which could be done in a park or a garden. This sort of public area with the cool bird bath and some terraining tips as well as swings and flower pots. And back to the start where we have some landscaping techniques as well, with cobblestone just lining each set on the Y coordinate. Right, well that's it everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and if you did listen to my information at the start, I am doing a limited t-shirt design for sale, very limited edition. So if you want to take a look at that, the link is in the description. It's really important to support creators at the moment, so that is the way to support me. I don't do a Patreon. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and a big thank you to Pearlescent Moon and Happy Jellyfish for helping me put these together. We had a lot of fun doing it, and thank you again for watching. Goodbye!